Hello friends, I hope you're having a good week. This week in Lyrics of Life, we're going to talk about the book, The Obstacle is the Way. And what this book is all about is really turning your obstacles into opportunities. So I'm going to kind of give you an overview of 3 different parts and kind of what I learned and hopefully some things that you can start applying in your life as well. So the book first talks about this idea of perception. It claims that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth. So this was from Marcus Aurelius, I think was it back in ancient Rome. He practiced the philosophy of Stoicism, and that was kind of a main idea that ran through that. And then furthermore, regardless of what happens to you in life, you have the choice on how you will perceive and act on it. So if a negative event happens, I would encourage you, and I'm also starting to do this, is to try to reframe it as an opportunity. Sometimes bad things that happen are maybe objectively negative, but there's usually some positive if you really search to find, but it's usually obviously not as convenient to do that. And then third, don't attach failures to I, instead merely observe the event. So I see this all the time. In fact, I did this quite a bit. Since I'm a piano player, I'll just say back in high school, if I made a mistake or a gig didn't go as well, I'd be like, oh, like I was so awful, or like I performed so poorly. And I think that's not very constructive to our overall selves. It's probably not a very healthy way to view our problems. Instead, start saying that. Reference the event and then what you're going to do to improve it. So instead of I was awful, say that was awful. I'm going to do something about it. So that's something else related to perception. It's helpful to know what we're in control of and what we're not in control of. So we're obviously not in control of things that are external, other people's actions, things that happen around the world, maybe natural disasters. But we are in control of our emotions, judgments, creativity, attitude, perspective, desires, decisions, and determination. So obstacles are growth opportunities. Every negative can be seen through a positive, and that's not merely through delusion. It's kind of hard to pick up an example. Let me think. I guess one example for me is my piano is starting to break. So it's aged a lot. I've had it for about 12 years and it's not working very well. It'll make these buzzing noises like every 5 minutes. So I guess one way I could look at that is I could say, oh, this is awful. Like, oh, this is my one investment that I've had. Now I have to buy a new piano. I have to spend so much money. That's the negative lens. But if I push on it a little bit, I say, you know what? That's now given me the opportunity to focus on guitar and learn so much more on an instrument that I otherwise wouldn't have invested the time in. So it's really a blessing that my piano hasn't been working that well. So thinking of it like that, and that's not delusional, that's just looking at a different angle. So part 2 of the book, after we've perceived through a healthy lens, now we're going to start acting, take action, right? So great entrepreneurs, they're never wedded to a position. They're never afraid to lose a little of their investment. They're never bitter or embarrassed, and they're never out of the game for long. So those are just some classic examples of characteristics you want to hold as someone starting your own company, and also just anyone. I mean, I think a lot of people right now are wedded to different ideas. I think it's really important to know, like usually when you're searching for the right information or trying to find the answer to a complex topic, the truth is usually somewhere in the middle between 2 polar opposites. And if something seems super simple, it might be, but most of the time it's not. So always be a student. And then the world provides feedback to every failure action, and every success action. It's our job to listen to them and make correct actions. So I like talking about YouTube because, this is what I'm doing right now. I've been spending a lot of time on it. And I haven't had a lot of success on the platform, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to attach that to myself and my identity. But what I need to do instead is start looking at feedback. So what I recently did was went to my videos and filtered by most popular to least popular. And I noticed the 2 that stood out were jazz videos, how to learn jazz chords, how to apply jazz chords to pop. So from that feedback from you guys, from viewers, I can now create content that relates to what you're wanting. So in general, so I'm going to make another jazz video. So just something like that. So take note of those feedback items, like observe what worked and what didn't work. Sometimes what we think works doesn't actually translate to reality. And then no job is too small in the beginning. Excel at whatever you do with hard work, honesty, and a helping hand for others. So part 2 is all about taking action. Sometimes those actions aren't very glorious in the beginning. You might be waking up earlier. You might be going to work to get to earn money from a job that isn't your calling or isn't something that you really enjoy. However, I think it's so important, especially as like a new college grad or, 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds getting their first job, is if you're mopping the floors, if you're, putting up, facing grocery items on a shelf, do that to the best of your ability, because that doesn't go unnoticed. The world will provide feedback for that. And he who's faithful with small will get more. Well, he will be responsible with a small amount. He does it, he or she excels at that, and then they'll get more responsibility. So, and it's tough, it's not fun to be stuck in a job like that, but it's so important that you do well at it, because then you'll get more later. So part 3, so we've talked about perception, thinking through a positive lens, will, making sure that you're paying attention to feedback and making corrections. And 3 is will. So what is our will? It's defined in different ways, but the book says that it's fortitude and wisdom to flip the unflippable. So that's kind of a funny way to say it, but basically it's like flip. It's like there's a negative situation in life. It's negative. You flipped it. Now it's positive. I watched the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix. It was so awesome. I love that thing. And I think it was I thought it was just going to be 2 hours, but it was a 10-part series, and it really goes into the Bulls dynasty. And there were so many times in Michael's career where he was down like 10 points or even down like 30 points at half, and he just turned it on and came back and won at the end of the game. And it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like Phil Jackson had these plays that were different in the second half. No, Michael just wanted it more than any other player on the court, and it showed. So I think having the fortitude and the wisdom to really want what you're going after, like don't waver in it. It's just really critical. So again, you must build your steel backbone. It takes work. You have to put in the hours. Unfortunately, you see stuff on the internet, get rich quick and, invest and get 100% return. Sometimes there's things that happen in life that are just blessings and are amazing, and we should not take those for granted. But by and large, it's showing up day in and day out consistently with focused effort. That's going to get you where you want to go in whatever area you're in. And finally, remind yourself that every problem you encounter has already been faced by someone in history. So whether you're feeling alone, whether you're feeling discouraged, it helps me to know that we have other people. There are people older than you that you can rely on, maybe mentors, maybe a family member. We're not alone in our problems. You are not, you are an individual, and we're all different and unique, but you are not the only person to have your own problems. So that to me makes me feel comfort, or takes comfort in that, I'm one person and I can rely on others who have faced similar issues than me. So that's the book, Obstacle is the Way. It's a good read. I recommend it if you need a shift in your perspective. But again, the 3 parts is perceiving the world through a positive lens, 2, taking action, and 3, understanding the power of will, harboring a strong will, and building your steel backbone. Again, I hope you guys found value in this video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Have a good week.